This is my 93 K1500 and I love this thing. So much so that I had to get this. It's a 99 Tahoe that I got a great deal on. Not a ton of miles and the exterior is in pretty great shape, but the inside has seen better days. I gave it a good scrub down, a shampoo and vacuum, but these seats are cracked, brittle, and the foam is bursting out from anywhere it can. So in this video, we're gonna fix that.
Okay, now I don't know who owned this thing before, but I don't want to sit in their sweaty, exposed seat foam. So we're replacing these old crumple stiltskin seat covers with brand new vinyl covers that I found on eBay. Now there are a ton of options for covers that you'll find on Amazon, eBay, Etsy, all over the internet on various websites, and you'll also find a big range in quality. The kit I got fits nearly perfectly. Now there are a few little spots that I wish fit a little bit better, but overall I could not be happier. For $130, this seat came with the top and bottom covers for the passenger and driver's side. It didn't come with the armrest or the headrest covers. Now overall, I'd give this set 8 out of 10, and considering that the higher quality covers would cost around $1,000, I just don't think that the extra 2 points I'd get from the higher quality covers were worth it for what I want.
And everything I cover here applies to GMT400 vehicle bucket seats from 1995 to 99, and I guess some 2000 models as well.
Now, just a warning, I haven't done this before. I'm not an expert. So don't just rely on this video. If you get stuck or there's an angle of something that you'd like to see better, there are other videos on YouTube that walk through this. I'll link those in the description. But it's also worth noting that I think this is the only video that covers putting the top cover on the seat for these trucks.
And you're gonna need a few things to get this done. First being a flathead screwdriver, which will mostly be used for unclipping clips, prodding at stuff and undoing things, and also a Phillips head for removing a couple of screws here and there. You'll also need 10mm and 15mm sockets for your socket wrench, a utility knife, and a hog clip set for installing the new covers to the seat assembly. And there are some other things that you might want that aren't totally necessary but will definitely come in handy, like pliers, a sharp pair of scissors, and a Sharpie for marking up a few spots where you'll need to cut into the new covers.
Now, hog clips. Can we talk about hog clips? Let's call them something else. Hog clip sounds gross and sensual, and I don't want to feel those two things when I'm talking about upholstery. But regardless, you're gonna want a hog clip set, and I got this set on Amazon, though in hindsight I wish I got this one because the way it clips is just a little closer to how the seats actually came. Just about any set will do, though. Just make sure you get one that comes with different size clips so you can adjust as you need. Now, you can use zip ties instead of hog clips, and I've seen other people on YouTube do that, but to me that just seems a lot more cumbersome. You have to punch holes and use zip ties only where there are holes in the seat assembly. I wanted this put back together the way the good gods at GM intended, so I went with hog clips.
First things first, we'll start with the track and seat. Now, technically you can just remove the seat from the track and do it that way, but I honestly find it way easier to remove the track and the seat. This makes it easier to put back together, in my opinion, and gives you a chance to clean the carpet in some areas that will otherwise never have a chance to be cleaned. So diving in, you'll have this plastic cover that's just held on with 2 screws, one on the front, one on the back of the seat. Go ahead and remove those, then the cover slides right off. Then go ahead and remove the 4 15mm bolts holding the track to the floor. They're just in each corner of the track assembly, and again, you technically don't need to do this, but I found it way easier to do this first. And maybe you don't like doing it this way. Do whatever you want. I don't care. Next, we have the 4 10mm bolts holding the seat to the track assembly. Again, just in all 4 corners, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, you know how it goes. But another reason it's nice to unscrew the track from the floor is that you can tilt everything freely here, getting access to these bolts however you need. And it goes without saying, but if you can't get to these bolts, make sure your seat is positioned roughly in the middle and about as high as it goes. This makes everything way easier to access. And now the seat can wiggle around freely, and you might be tempted to just go ahead and rip the seat out, but wait. We gotta unplug stuff first. We'll start with the main plug connecting the seat to power and everything else. And that's easy to do. Just lift up on the tab and pull the plug out. It's nice and snug in there, but you can do it. Just believe in yourself. Then let's keep unplugging stuff. Next is the motors that do all the fancy moving around. Each of these plugs has a dedicated color where the plug actually meets the motor, and you can just Sharpie on the motor to note which is which. Top is white, next to that is blue, and the third one is black. I don't know which does what, and it doesn't matter. Just label it up so you can get your plugs right. And after those are unplugged, you'll notice this little wire harness is kept in proper place through a plastic retaining clip that you can just pop out from the track frame. Then, once you've got the wires from the seat all nice and tucked away, you can pull the seat right out. And now that we've got the seat out of the way, we can finally see some of these crumbs that were left behind. And now we can actually use those crumbs and a little bit of honey to press them back into a fully reconstituted Nature Valley bar. Delicious. So now let's get this thing inside so we can get to the fun part. Next, we'll start removing the controls from the seat. And here is where a Phillips head comes in handy. And if you've got a drill, great, but that's how you remove this lever. I don't know what it's called, but this only goes on one way. I guess it could go on the other way, but that would be very wrong and very obvious, so don't put it back on that way. Then next, we'll use the Phillips head to take off this control board, just one on either side, and then this kind of wedges right out. Then you'll have access to the plugs that plug into the board. And these are all held in through, again, clips that you can use a flat head to just kind of gently pry along the side to free them from this cover. If this gives you trouble, just be gentle and give it some love, and they'll come out. Though the toughest one that I ran into was the lumbar control. I couldn't quite figure this one out, but just on the front and back, or top and bottom rather, you can get your flathead in there and very gently pull that lumbar control out. Now the plugs are all free. You can tuck those into the seat and throw away the cover. No, I'm kidding. Keep that. And now we're going to remove the bottom cover. To do that, we're just going to pry away at these hog clips that run on 3 of the 4 sides of this seat. The other side is just held in with what's called J-clips. We'll get to those later. So just start prying away at those. I used a flathead screwdriver, just kind of get it up under there and pry them away. And here you want to make sure to keep your eyes open as wide as possible so that when they fling off, they go directly into your open eyeballs. Or you can wear eye protection, whatever your preference is. And then just start going at these hog clips. You don't need to keep them. We're not going to reuse them. That's why we have the new hog clip set. Then next, we'll go ahead and go at these J-clips. Now, these are kind of a pain, but get in there with a flathead screwdriver. You can kind of pry them apart from whatever they're clipped to, and eventually they will peel away and be free. And then you'll want to carefully scrape off some of this inside rust dust so you can snort it and get super f***ed up. And then once you come down from that, you'll peel the rest of the cover off, and that just comes right off, and you can see this lovely yellow foam. Before we do pull the cover all the way off, though, we need to remove the heating element plug from the seat assembly. So go ahead and unplug that. Use a flathead to get up under there and pry the plug away. And now you'll want to be a little careful, because if you're reusing any of your foam, this Velcro is really strong. So you want to kind of carefully remove the Velcro from the seat, from the cover, and detach those with some grace, because you don't want to tear the Velcro on the foam side out of the foam. Just be tender there. And then you'll just want to pull that plug from the heated element out. And then pull the rest of the seat cover off. And then boom, there you go. And for the heated seat part, I'm just going to be honest, it's probably not worth it.
But if you want to keep them, the heated wiring is actually inside the cover, not the cushion. So you have to meticulously cut the seams, separating the leather from the foam backing to get to the wiring to retain that and move it over to your new seat cover, which is kind of a pain. And at the end of the day, these are 30-year-old seats. If there's any corrosion, split wires, crumpled wires, or any damage at all, you probably don't want to move the heated seat component, and you might not even know you have an issue with yours until you're at the end of the process of cutting it out, which is exactly what happened to me. I've got some corrosion and some crumpled wiring that I could totally fix, but I don't think I would ever not be worried that my truck was going to burn down and explode into my house and burn my house down and kill me and my family. So I just cut my losses and accepted that I'm not going to have heated seats, and that's okay.
But if you do decide to give it a go, be sure to check out this video from the Seat Shop, where they give a really detailed play-by-play of exactly how to move this over. So now we'll replace that bottom cover. We got the old one off, we're going to put the new one on. To do that, we'll flip the new cover sort of inside out. This is so we can easily see where the Velcro aligns and make sure that we're kind of pressing it all perfectly in place. Then once that's on, we'll go ahead and pull in the back tab from the back side of the seat. So get your fingers in there, pull it out. Once you get a grip on it, you can kind of pull it through. Make sure you pull that through really snug though. Once that's through, you'll go ahead and just loosely make sure that everything fits the way it should. That seams are kind of lining up and that you've got it on about where you need to. Then go ahead and start pressing in that Velcro from the top as well. Once you've done that, we'll go ahead and hook this J-clip to the seat assembly. Now, J-clips are a really simple concept. It's just one clip that's shaped like a J, clipping onto something else, often another J-clip. So those will kind of snap together. I'll admit, getting them off is way easier than putting a new J-clip on, but just kind of work one side, and once you've got that set, you can kind of roll the rest of it in place. And then you'll just want to make sure again that everything's really lining up. Your Velcro on the backside's lining up. All the seams are lining up where they should be, because this next part is crucial. We're going to use the old cover as a guideline to outline where we're going to make the incision to put in the seat controls. Now, this part is absolutely crucial. So for this part, I'd recommend that you really take your time to make that incision, because once you do it, that's it. But before I really got too far with this, my battery died and I didn't realize, but all you really want to do is cut these lines out. You don't want to necessarily cut holes. I know that says holes, but you really just want to cut these line incisions, and be very careful to not cut that seam. If you cut that seam, the seat can very easily tear apart, and after a few months, you'll have split your side seam. But use the old cover as a guideline. Even maybe use a marker to mark out where that incision is exactly, and then make your incision. Measure twice, cut once, all that fun stuff. And then once I realized my camera died, I got it back on. I had already done one side with the hog clips, and that's because that's the opposite side of where the J clips clip in. This lets us get a really nice snug fit horizontally, and then we'll move on from the back to the top, or I guess the bottom to the top of the cover. So working from the bottom, which the seat's upside down, so that's on the top, we're going to use our hog clip pliers to fit our little clip in, and then we'll kind of stretch the seat in place where we need it. I started with the Velcro end of the side, so that way I could overlay that on top, making sure that all fit perfectly. And then starting from the middle, when you're doing these, the sides or the bottom or the top, starting from the middle is what I found the easiest way to go about this. So you stretch the middle down and then kind of clip it into place with the hog clip. Then once that's good, you can start working from the other sides, from the edges, and then we can work our way in from there. So usually like 5 or 6 clips is probably all you need. And then once you do that, you'll notice that there are some wrinkles. I would say don't be sad about the wrinkles. They'll kind of stretch out and the cover will smooth to the shape of the cushion, especially once it's sitting in like a hot car. But overnight, mine looked way better. So now we're gonna remove the top cover.
So as far as I know, I wasn't able to find any videos on replacing the top portion of the seat covers on these 95 to 99 GMT400 bucket seats. Now, it's pretty similar to the GMT800 bucket seats, but in my opinion, the difference is big enough that hopefully this portion of the video is helpful for you.
So to get started, we're gonna take off these headrest cover clips. To do that, you'll just get your flathead screwdriver up on the side and kind of pop those off. Pretty easy. And then once those are off, you can press down on this mechanism to release the headrest from the seat. So we'll go ahead and pull that out. And then save those covers for later.
Now, the other thing I cannot figure out is this armrest. There are videos on YouTube for 2000 to 2006. I can't find anyone who's done this before. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna peel off the cover as best we can, get it around, so hopefully we can see some sort of mechanism for what locks this in place and how to release it. So we're gonna flip the seat over, and then already getting this dirty with the old seat stuff. The top of the seat, I do know, is held on with the same sort of mechanism that the side of the seat cushion cover is held on with. So we'll start there.
Now, for getting these off, these J-clips are actually connected to each other, so it's a little harder than getting off the J-clips from the seat bottom, just an FYI. Then I started to try and work the cover off of the seat cushion, but then I ran into a problem.
So for getting this thing off, I just took a razor blade to the cover because as I was tearing it off, I noticed I was starting to actually tear some of the foam, which can't be replaced because I can't find new seat top foam anywhere for these trucks. So I'm replacing the cover, can't replace the foam, so one of them had to go, and that was the seat cover. So apparently GM decided, you know, the Velcro mechanism we've used throughout all of this seat cushion, what if for some of it we just started using those little hog clips again for no reason in the middle of the seat cushion? Let's do that. So you can kind of see I've got to start getting in here with the screwdriver and hopefully not tearing up the foam. Why would they do this? Why would they do this?
So this was really frustrating, but once I got the hang of getting these off, it wasn't that big of a deal. I just used my flathead to kind of wedge into the clips, and then I used a Phillips head, a thicker Phillips head screwdriver to get in there to provide some leverage against the flathead, so that way I wasn't just tearing at the foam, because you could very easily tear that bar that runs through the foam out of the foam. So just be careful here. But once you get those clips out, the seat cover comes off, and we're in great shape. And then once that's off, you just have the final boss to beat, and that is figuring out this armrest cover. Now, it makes sense now that I know what it is, but you really want to remove this retaining clip that's inside of the armrest mechanism. So once you do that, then the armrest will pop right out. But it's held in through this little groove with the retaining clip. So the retaining clip goes over the armrest bracket, clipping in place so that when this armrest slides where it needs to, it locks in place. So to remove that, you can just take a flathead screwdriver and nudge it against the clip to kind of plop it out of place. That is going to go flying, but make sure you hold on to that clip. Then you can go ahead and take off the rest of the cover, toss that wherever you want, and now we'll put the new seat cover on. So the same way we did with the bottom, we want to kind of invert it and then roll it into place. Because we have to deal with the hog clips here, we're just going to make sure that as we roll it through that we clip in that cross member. I don't know what to call that. But so we'll get the first one clipped in, keep rolling, and then get the next one clipped in with the hog clips. and there's just 3 that run on either side and in the middle. Then we can roll the rest of the cover on, almost. We still have to get the arm rest back in place. So to do that, we'll just go ahead and make sure we have a little hole cut for that all to go through. Now for this, we do need to cut an actual hole. So just make sure you only cut it as big as it needs to be, but I found that the size of a Cheeto Puff seems about right. I don't know if that's a good unit of measurement, but now we need to get that retaining clip that we took off back on before we put the armrest cover in place. So we'll kind of slide that retaining clip back over the armrest bracket that holds it all in place. So opposite of what we did before, take the retaining clip, snap it onto place. It is hard to do, but once you get in there, get that in place. It should look like that when you're looking down the barrel of the thing. And then you can just kind of bang that armrest back into place. And make sure that you give it a good tug just to be sure that the retaining clip is retaining the armrest. Then we can go ahead and slide the rest of this back cover through the bottom. And again, these are held in with the J-clips. These are harder than the bottom J-clips to put on because they're just trying to clip to each other and they're both plastic rather than one end being metal. But once you get that in place, now we just have a few more things to do here. We need to cut the holes for where these headrest brackets come through. To do that, we'll just feel out where the outline of the bracket is and then cut a little bit smaller than that. Cut a hole a little smaller than that to make sure that the cover is covered by that bracket. So it'll be kind of tough to push that through, but once it's through, those bracket covers will snap into place, and these little dots go on the front. I don't know if that matters, but they do. So snap those in, and then insert your headrest, and boom, your seat is almost fully assembled. So we'll just put on that track with those 4 10mm bolts. And then once those bolts are on, we just need to make sure we plug in our wire harness to these little motors. So according to what we labeled them color-wise, we'll plug those back in. Then we'll make sure that our wire harness there is all nice and tidy and neat. So I had to use some electric tape to do that, but now it's just time to put the seat back in. Before we start bolting everything down, we just want to make sure that our controls work and do what they're supposed to do. If they do, go ahead and bolt it down. And now you've got a brand new seat cover on your seats.
Overall, I could not be happier with the results. Just yesterday, my seats looked like Keith Richards, and today, they look like Timothy Chalamet. Going from definitely looking almost 30 years old to looking brand new. And for just $130 and a few hours, it was totally worth it.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully this helps you on your journey to keeping these awesome vehicles not just on the road, but super enjoyable. Stay tuned for more videos, and we'll do more stuff next time.